Hey, what is up guys? So today we are going to be talking about historic bands that you guys might not have known about, or more obscure bands that a lot of people are upset about, but I also wanted to go over a lot of history in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now there are a lot of historical cards that are not going to be on this list because we foresaw them coming. For example, Yatagarasu, Pot of Greed. A lot of these cards, we expected them to be getting banned, but I wanted to go over a bunch of cards that some of you guys might not be familiar with that were actually banned at one point, and if they were brought back at the game, most of them are probably at 3 anyways at this point because the game has evolved. They wouldn't have actually done very much if we were to play them at 3 now. But back in the day, these were cards that were very, very powerful, and those are the cards that I wanted to go over. But anyways, that said, let's get into it. So these are all actually going to be done by year. So we're going to be starting off with a card that was really, really good back in the day, and that was actually Twinheaded Behemoth. So I also want to go over some of these effects because, again, some of these cards that we're going over, you guys might not have ever wanted to actually play this day and age, or even knew about at all. But anyways, first card is Twinheaded Behemoth. So during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was destroyed on the field and sent there this turn, you can special summon this card, but its attack and defense become 1,000. You can only use this effect of Twinheaded Behemoth once per duel. But the thing that made Twinheaded Behemoth so good back in the day, guys, is tributing summoning of monsters was quite a common thing. Nowadays, we can special summon by tributing monsters, but back in the day, you had a change of heart. You had to like take your opponent's monsters, then tribute them. That's usually how a lot of things got done, especially in like the old Game Boy games. So like this card over here, to have him come back, then you could tribute for Summon Skull. That was actually a card that some people played in certain decks. Jinzo, that was another card that is very good as well. But anyways, in 2013, he actually got limited, so you could only play one of them, and then, you know, obviously it says once per duel. But next up, this was also in 2003. This is Green Baboon. This card was limited, so if this face-up card is in your hand or graveyard, when a face-up beast-type monster you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can pay 1,000 life points to special summon this card. So, again, during certain eras, certain cards were very powerful. I never really experienced the Green Baboon, but it was a card that I just didn't even realize had made it onto the ban list at one point. The next card is actually Jinzo. Now, I remember this guy over here from some of the games. This guy was so powerful in the game. Sakuretsu armor, a lot of people were playing a lot of traps back in the day that were not spell speed 3. It was mostly cards that were reactive when your opponent would attack. You would respond with something, but Jinzo was like, no shadow spells, no Sakuretsu armors, nothing stopping this guy. This guy was a beast, and in 2013, he was put to 1. The next card is actually pretty interesting. This is another card that was actually put to 1 on the ban list. That is Mage Power. So the equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense for each spell and trap card you control. And if you had multiple Mage Powers, it would count itself. And, you know, some people at that time were like, wow, this is so powerful. But this day and age, if you ran a deck that equipped a lot of things, Noble Knights was kind of the only deck that was revolving around equipping that actually did pretty well, I would say. I mean, I know Noble Knights have topped multiple events in like the top 32-ish era, but for the most part, when you equip a bunch of stuff just to one monster and then like that one monster goes away, you just kind of lose. There was a lot of crazy things. There was a really old video that I featured using a build where you just equip a bunch of things like Benkei OTK. It got a lot of views. It was a cheesy deck, but Mage Power nonetheless, it's an interesting card, and it was actually put to 1 at 2003. Next up, this is going to surprise a lot of you guys, because I was surprised by this. Magic Cylinder 2003 was actually put to 1, so when an opponent attacks, you reflect the damage, and it actually does stop the attack, and makes your opponent take the damage. Really, really good card. And a lot of cheese happens sometimes with Magic Cylinder. But the next card is actually going to surprise a lot of you guys too. I didn't know about this one, and this is why I like doing these historic videos. But anyways, Vampire Lord was actually put to 1. So when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you would declare a type. Usually you declared spells because in this day and age, spells were probably the most powerful things in the game. But anyways, your opponent has to send one card of that type from their deck to the graveyard. And then during your next hand phase, after this card in your possession was destroyed and sent to the graveyard by opponent's card effect, special summon this card from the graveyard. So this was very powerful at the time of its release, I guess, because again, this is one of those cards I personally didn't experience. But I can see that back in the day, 2000 life point, 2000 attack, that's pretty big. You'd have to destroy it via other means. So therefore, you can bring it back. So I think that was pretty good that you're able to bring it back. And again, back in the day, if you were to hit someone, you would call spells. That was pretty big. This day and age, you could hit a lot of things, and the opponent probably wouldn't care too much. There's a lot of cards, whether it's spells, traps, where you get to banish it from the graveyard and get extra effects. So he's at 3 now, so you don't have to worry about this. But the next thing that we are actually going to be talking about is a card that was banned in 2004. That was United We Stand. So the equipped monster gains 800 attack and defense for each face-up monster you control. And yeah, it was pretty strong back in the day. I remember that this card was very, very powerful because a lot of cards like Axe of Despair, you would just summon monster, equip it, attack over things. That was just, it was good. This card was actually pretty pricey at one point. I do remember this card being like, I want to say it was about $20-ish, but yeah, this card, I definitely remember it was pricey. The next card, though, was also another card that was actually put on the ban list. That was Injection Fairy Lily. This card was a saving grace, and it was so good because you didn't have to like pay life points. You didn't have to use 2 monsters to get out a pretty big monster. So anyways, this card is attack or is attacked during damage calc. In either player's turn, you can pay 2,000 life points. Once per battle, this card gains 3,000 attack during that damage calculation only. So it's 3,400. Yeah, you had to pay 2,000 life points, but back in the day, I remember playing this card and it was very good. This card was actually a secret rare and it was hot and I was like, oh, I wanted that card, man. But yeah, I remember this card was definitely pretty good back in the day and it was actually banned in 2004. And the next guy we have over here is like everyone's favorite searcher. Now this guy got banned multiple times, but he was first actually banned in 2004. This little guy just searched out too much. They've actually changed his effect, that they've actually eroded him, but nonetheless, we might see Sangan come back in the future with that new text change in the future. Who knows? But nonetheless, Sangan was actually banned in 2004, as well as later down the line, which we'll talk about later. But anyways, the next card up is Righetti and Mir Force. Both these are classic power cards that both of them got banned at the same time. 2004 hit a ton of stuff, but again, I wanted to go over the more obscure things and things that wouldn't even matter now. This is kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video. But nonetheless, Righetti and Mir Force, even if Righetti was at 3, I think a lot of players wouldn't even play 3 copies of it, even in the side deck. A lot of people are not even playing Righetti Dark Holes in their main deck. Sometimes people will just side deck the 1 Righetti, but nonetheless, even if Righetti was at 3, let me know if any of you guys would run 3 in this day and age. Mir Force is one of these cards, it's at 3. There's so many different Mir Forces. We got water, fire, earth, wind. We got so many different Mir Forces, and they're just not too popular just because they're a little bit slower this day and age. But nonetheless, yeah, those were like 2 like huge things. I had to put them in this video. I know it ain't no pot of greed, but like that surprised a lot of people because this was a very expensive card back in the day, and it actually got put on the ban list. But the next thing that we're going to be talking about is Sixpence. Now, this was banned really fast in the OCG. Now, we didn't get this card for so long because it was banned. There was like no reason to have this printed because it was broken. But the thing is, this card actually came back in 2013 to actually push Joey's World Sales. It was like a collectible thing that had a bunch of cards that weren't really good. And they decided, let's throw Sixpence in there, let's get some sales, and then we'll ban it later on. A lot of people really hated this card because it won so many games. And like Dragon Rulers, it's a card where you declare 2 numbers from 1 to 6, then your opponent rolls a 6-sided die. And if the result is one of those numbers you declared, you draw that many cards. Otherwise, you send a number of the cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the result. So you just call 5 and 6, you could potentially draw 5 or 6 cards, and it happened. So many duels were lost because of this card, and this card I feel like will probably never come back, but nonetheless, this is a very iconic card, and it was actually, like I said, banned in 2005, and then it came back in 2013, then it got banned immediately once again. But now we're moving into 2006, and that card that we are going to be talking about, the first was put on the list. Now this went to 1. in 2006. That is Treeborn Frog. So this card, just during the standby phase, you control no monster, just bring it back as long as you control no back row. And Monarchs were actually popular. There was a deck called Trooper Monarchs. I actually remember that deck. I played it on, I believe it was like the PSP Tag Force. I don't know if it's Tag Force 1 or 2 or did they make 3? I don't know, it was one of the Tag Force games. I remember I played Trooper Monarchs. It was pretty good. You would card Trooper and you just try to send Trooper Frog to the graveyard and you just have your Monarchs. Really slow deck, but it was really consistent. But yeah, Treeborn Frog was put to 1, and like now it's at 3. No one really playing Treeborn Frog because, you know, it's just too slow. And the new Monarchs came out and they were just like, they didn't need Treeborn Frog. This was like a staple in Monarchs for a really, really long time. But the next thing is actually pretty extremely weird. I didn't even know about this, so let me go over this card's effect, because a lot of you guys probably didn't even know about this card. This is Victory Dragon. So it says this card cannot be special summoned. To tribute summon this card, you must tribute 3 dragon-type monsters. If this card attacks your opponent directly and reduces their life point to 0, you win the entire match. Now, it only has 2400 attack, it doesn't really protect itself, but you could technically win the match from this card's effect, which is crazy good. But it was actually banned in 2006. Now, it was legal for a short period of time when it first came out. And yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know that, like, I feel like this card, I don't know if it would even be that good. I mean, it's crazy that you can win the match, but at the same time, you gotta tribute 3 dragon types, and it has to attack them directly. I don't know. Let me know if you guys would run this in 2017. But the next card is really crazy. Now, this card got banned in 2006. It did come back, however, in 2015 for a brief period of time. That is Snatch Steal. This card was so dirty. So many people were super salty when your opponent would open up good, and then you just be like, Snatch Steal, I win the game. Some people really liked it, some people hated it. But yeah, Snatch Steal, very, very powerful card. There's not too many cards like Brain Control, Change of Heart, all these cards that got banned. But this was a card that came back, so I wanted to talk a little bit about it. But yeah, pretty crazy to see that card get banned in 2006, stay banned for so long, and then come back 7 years later, only to get banned immediately after. Now, there's an interesting card here called Time Seal that also got banned in 2006. That is Time Seal. So, Time Seal is a card I don't really know if anyone would be able to do. There is a combo with it that can make it so your opponent can't Yu-Gi-Oh! But there's so many things like that already. And this combo is really hard. It requires Mask of Darkness, it requires Time Seal and Graveyard, it requires Tsukio. It's too hard to do. Like, realistically, to get the lock, it's too hard to do. That's the only reason why I know it's banned. But if you guys know why Time Seal is still banned to this day, you let me know down below in the comment section below, because I just don't see it like being super banned worthy. But again, I might just not know the combo. If you guys tell me the combo, I'm like, alright, I understand why it's banned. But anyways, it's a trap card that says skip the draw phase of your opponent's next turn. So I'm just wondering, like, you activate it once. I'm sure there's a way to loop it, but I just don't know of it. But yeah, Time Seal was banned in 2006. Now we're moving in 2007. Breaker the Magical Warrior. This is the first time he actually got put on the ban hammer. He was actually banned. Breaker, pretty simple fact. This card is pretty iconic. I know a lot of people liked him. I like him too. But anyways, if this card is normal summon, you get to place 1 spell counter on it. It can only have 1. And then this card gains 300 attack for each spell counter on it. You can remove 1 spell counter from this card. Then target 1 spell or trap card in the field and destroy that target. This card was so beast. You summon it 1900 and it got over things. I like this card so much. This card was so good in like most of the video games. This card was just, it was just staple. Like, he was so good. If you guys didn't play back in the day, like, you don't understand. Like, Breaker was so good. MST was at 1 for like the longest time in Yu-Gi-Oh! And now we have so many other like back row destructions. Before, it was like you had your MST, you had Giant Tornado and Heavy Storm. That was like the core setup. Some people didn't even play Giant Tornado, but it was still a good card. But for the most part, Breaker, he was just so good. I can't talk more positive about Breaker because I played him in like every deck that was in like most of the. I think Eternal Duelist Soul had him. There were a lot of games where I played with Breaker. Was it Eternal Duelist Soul? Might have been like one of them after. It was one of the games I think for the Game Boy Advance. But nonetheless, Break the Magic War was a really good card. But he was put on the ban list. Next up, Magician of Faith actually was on the ban list. Now she's legal now, but she's a flip effect. Lets you target 1 spell card in your graveyard and add that target to your hand. She's not really viable for the most part. Flip effects just kind of died out in Yu-Gi-Oh! For the most part. They're just too slow. Like, you guys have seen how the game has evolved and it gets faster and faster. Setting a card going past, not the best idea here when your opponent is going to go Pendulum Stone from 5 monsters, I'm immune to things, negate effects. It's just way too slow for the game. And on top of that, for a brief period of time, we didn't actually have a lot of good spells. Like, Magician of Faith is only as good as the spells in the game. Now, we do have a card called Foolish Burial of Belongings, I believe it's called, and that lets you send a spell card to the graveyard, so maybe someone can make use of Magician of Faith with the combo of that, but for the most part, flip effects are just way too slow, so even if she's at 3, who's gonna play plan 3 here in 2017? But next up, in 2007, a Breaker got unbanned for a short period of time, but then they put him right back on the ban list. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. But next up, oh, let me scroll down over here. Yeah, so Breaker was banned and then unbanned, then banned again. But right after that, we got 2008, Destiny Hero Disc Commander actually got banned. So this card has the effect when this card is special summoned from the graveyard, draw 2 cards. Now I wanted to talk about this card because he was involved in something called the Perfect Circle, which is where you would recycle a lot of things, which we'll get into why Call of the Haunted is also banned, which was basically just trying to loop certain things over and over, draw these cards, distribute him, whatever, draw extra cards. But Disc Commander, even at 3, I tried it at 3 because we were having a discussion about this card, and I feel like even if this card came back to 3, I don't think that it would be that insane. Like, I tried running a Destiny Hero deck, but now with Allure at 3, maybe it can get a little bit crazy by putting other things back in the graveyard, drawing cards. I just don't see it being very meta, even if he was at 3. But you guys let me know how you feel about Destiny Hero Disc Commander if he was put to 3, because right now he's banned. He was first banned in 2008, and I don't believe he's gotten changed since 2008. But nonetheless, when he's special summoned, draw 2 cards. But it's still, at the end of the day, not good for stats. It's usable for a tribute, synchros. It's good for a lot of different things, but I just don't see it being banned with it. Like, I don't know, you guys let me know if there's some other combo I just don't know, because even with Perfect Circle Monarchs to Stain Age, I don't think it's that insane compared to, like, you know, what we got coming out of the game. We got Zodiacs, other things, but nonetheless, the next card up that I want to talk about is Dark Magician of Chaos. Now, this was like a super fan favorite card. Now, again, he got banned in 2008, but he did come back in the game with a new effect. It's not the same card though, because you have to add it later. It's not immediate, so I just feel like he's just not as good, but I wanted to give him a little shout out there. Also, Call of the Haunted was first banned here in 2008. But moving to 2010, this card, Necrogardna, was actually put to 1. And I was like, whoa, what the heck? They made a lot of cards that were similar to it. We got Necro Defender, Electromagnetic Turtle, which is way better. But in 2010, this card was actually put to 1. So, during your opponent's turn, you can banish the card from your graveyard to negate the next attack this turn by a monster your opponent controls. This is a quick effect. So, it was used in Lightsworn. That was, I would say, the deck that took the most advantage of it. For any of you, like, old school Yu-Gi-Oh players, there was a player named Cesar Gonzalez that actually ran this in Dragons. Also, it was really weird because he would use Dragon Ravine for it, and he liked it. It was interesting. But Cesar Gonzalez, one of those really good old school players. Unfortunately, I don't think he keeps up with the game anymore, but he was one of my favorite players back in the day. And like I said, there was a few other decks that made use of it, but the main one was Lightsworn. But anyways, the next card over here is a lot of people's favorite card. Rescue Cat got put on the ban hammer in 2010. Rescue Cat was unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, put on the ban list. Now, he got hit before that because there was a deck called Rescue Cat. That deck got pretty much shut down. But then people were using this card in X-Sabers, and there's a lot of OTKs involving just Rescue Cat alone. There's a lot of videos. If you type in Rescue Cat, FTK, OTK, all you need is like Rescue Cat, and you can pull off some crazy combos. Now, it did get errated, so maybe that this card can come back in the future, but with its errata, it's not the same card. Also, Mass Driver got banned in 2010. There was a lot of FTKs with Mass Driver, and I thought that this was a good choice for the game. But nonetheless, in 2010, Mass Driver did also get banned. Next up for 2011, we had we were talking about Mass Driver, 2010. Spore was actually put on the ban list. Pretty crazy. I mean, I don't understand the point of... I think at one point, Spore was actually limited too. But it's funny because you can only use the effect once per duel. But nonetheless, if it's in your graveyard, you can banish one other plant-type monster in your graveyard to special summon this card and increase its level by the level of the banished monster. It was basically them kind of neuter plants to the ground. Like, they hit Glow Up Bulb, they hit Spore, and people were like, I can't play my Plant Synchro anymore. One of my favorite decks. But yeah, Spore was hit on the list. in 2011. Also, Mindmaster was put on the list. It's kind of similar to Substitute, but anyways, Substitute I think a lot of people were familiar with because of Frog FK, but Mindmaster, you pay 800 life points and tribute one Psychic type monster, except for Mindmaster, to special summon one level 4 or lower Psychic type monster from your deck in face of attack position. You guys could obviously see where the loops could become because it didn't say how many times you could do it. It's not once per turn. I mean, technically I guess there's the life point cost. There is actually a Psychic card that makes it so you don't have to pay life points, but Mindmaster was a tuner. You can 1-for-1. It was a really, really strong card, but yeah, he was actually put on the ban list as well. Also, a lot of people's favorite synchro was actually put on the ban list. That was Goyo Guardian. There was actually a tin. There was a Goyo Guardian tin, and I remember that Toys R Us had the tin, and they charged like $5 more extra because it was selling so well. And I remember I was like, I really want Goyo Guardian, but it's $5 extra. But yeah, that was unfortunate that Goyo Guardian got hit. They also actually eroded this card that it requires Earth Tuners, because before it didn't require that. Sorry, this is a long video, gotta take some water. But yeah, Goyo Guardian was actually put on the ban list as well in 2011. A lot of people were upset. This was one of the best level 16 crews that we had, other than Bryanak, which got put on the ban list too, but I feel like people understood that. But Goyo Guardian was a surprise to a lot of people. It was a great card though, for sure, for a long time. But also in 2011, Giant Trinade got hit. I feel like this card has a lot of potential to come back, but with Pendulums, it's probably unlikely because you can use your pendulum effects, bounce them back, bounce all of your opponent's stuff back, and then reuse your pendulum, like using Scout's effect, multiple times per turn. I mean, you run Cat, you get Scout's effect 3 times. That can get crazy. But nonetheless, yeah, Giant Trinade was actually put on the ban list. But I think this card has some potential to come back. Next up in 2012, this is something that basically a lot of these things are due to trying to shift up the meta, and for a while TG Agents was a thing, so they put TG Striker and Earth to 1, kind of to ensure the newer decks. This was, I believe, right after when like Dino Rabbit became really popular. It was Dino Rabbit and Zector Windup, so that's when like these got really, really popular. But nonetheless, yeah, Striker and Earth were hit to 1. But after this, one of the worst things that happened to us, boys, and that was in 2013. Our main boy Stratos was banned. Can we get a press F to pay respects? Free by Ninja Stratos there in the comments. But also Scangan was banned once again. But again, he got that errata, so maybe we'll see him in the future. But I wanted to end it off with the last card over here, Exiton Knight, that I feel like it got put on the ban list, that a lot of people were like, what the heck, why is this on the ban list? We have all these decks that get so much advantage. Why can't we have a card where if you're at a disadvantage, you could get that Yu-Gi-Oh comeback? Some people hated this card because you would be like, oh, I've got card advantage, I should be ahead of the game. Exiton Knight blow up the board, and then you come back. So that was him. He was the comeback card. But who knows? He may be returning in the future. But yeah, guys, that is the list of the historic cards. I just wanted to go over stuff that was older and also more obscure. I know that there's cards like Dark Arm Dragon that are very historic, but I wanted to make this video about things that you just wouldn't believe that they were actually on the ban list, and also things that you guys just might not have known. Some interesting facts, like I didn't know Vampire Lord was actually put on this list. I didn't know a lot about these things, but if you guys felt like I missed on any like historic cards that were like, whoa, why is this on the ban list? You guys let me know down below in the comment section below for the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! But man, this video took me so long to make. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys want more of this like historic history Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos, let me know by giving the video a like, so I know that you guys want this content, or some of you guys be like, ah man, just keep it up with those dank cheesy OTKs. I'll definitely keep on doing that if you guys prefer that kind of content. It just all depends on what you guys want, but I thought that this video was really interesting, and I had to do a lot of research about, because a lot of these cards actually got their effects changed and stuff like that, so a lot of stuff doesn't really matter this day and age. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the vid, and thanks for watching, guys, and if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more Minecraft videos.